got to appreciate that we're taking something from nothing, from just our mind and our spirit, and we are creating value to the point that down the road somebody wants to give hundreds of millions of dollars, and we're going to be mad about that? And then if it's someone that has the kind of mindset to do that in the first place, imagine what they can do now having. Do you know what I could do if I was starting out not broke like we started out and not having to go through bankruptcy? So, I mean, we got to let our people fly, and we got to know everybody's flight might look a little bit different, but it's all a win. Mainstream folks, they do this stuff all the time. Private equity funds will buy companies to multiply its value and liquidate it. They're flipping stuff, just like it's nothing but a flip.
Them niggas scared to make that move, can't relate to that. I roll the dice, shit, if I lose, I'm gonna be shaking back. Cause lessons learned within the loss just elevate the fact that trial and error just the only way, ain't no escaping that. I wake up, hit 100 push-ups, then I'm at my route. Check on my stocks, see how they looking, then I'm sliding out. When you start seeing your progression, you stop having doubts. And what's the point of having clout if you can't cash it out? True to this game, and I'm a lifer, ayy. Feel like we finna change the cycle, ayy. That's the most success, you know we thriving, ayy. That's the most depression for our rivals, ayy. Could teach a lesson on survival, ayy. You know I'm from the bottom.
What is good with it, my wealthy people? It's your boy David Bellard, founder and CEO of Black Wealth Renaissance. Here with my brother from another. What's good, Jalen?
Yo, what's good? I probably should have just dapped you up.
Yeah, man, it was a little awkward, but we made it happen.
But what's good, man? It's your boy Jalen, another founder of the Black Wealth Renaissance podcast. I'm feeling great, dog. I cannot complain. It's an amazing day. It's kind of gloomy outside, but the energy is amazing.
Yo, you already
so
know.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and I appreciate our guests coming all
man.
the way. You know,
From the A.
From the A, y'all already know we got another great episode for y'all today. Before we get into it, as always, y'all make sure y'all leave that 5-star rating and review. It helps us grow the show. Now, to get into it, y'all, I'm really excited about today's episode because what this brother's doing is not only cool, but it's unique. And I think it speaks to why we started Black Wealth Renaissance, to show these type of people, highlight his story. So on today's episode, guys, we have a brother who, he by way of Atlanta, let's just say it that way, owner of H&H Hospitality Group, which is a conglomerate, right, that has ownership stakes in 20 restaurants in the Atlanta airport. And last year, I think it was on track to do 50 M's in revenue, right? Crazy whenever you're hearing these numbers. So we had to get this man on the show so we could get his story. We have none other than Mr. Randy Hazelton. Randy, how you doing today, brother?
Man, I am fantastic. I really appreciate y'all brothers for having me. Excited to be here. Look forward to the conversation, man.
Appreciate you for coming,
likewise, man. So Randy, just to kind of get into it, man, for anybody that may not be familiar with you, right? They may not have seen the Forbes feature. They may not have been privy to what's going on. Can you just give them a brief introduction of who Randy Hazelton is?
Okay, so just briefly, Randy Hazelton, airport concessionaire is what they call it, but that's airport restaurants. So I own and operate restaurants in airports between Atlanta, Dallas, Fort Worth, as a matter of fact, Dulles and Washington, D.C., and then we got a couple other markets that we're about to open up the end of this quarter and the top of next quarter. So,
that's cool.
So that's what we do. We operate restaurants in airports.
So did you walk past one of your restaurants like, oh, that's my spot. Let's see how it's going on today.
So my restaurant that we got a stake in is the Shake Shack on Terminal C in DFW. So I came in on another con. So I didn't see it today. I was kind of rushing through. But normally I would spend time and make sure.
That's dope. That's dope.
That's what's up. Well, Randy, thank you for, again, joining us, man. So really hopping into it, you said airport concessionaire, right? What do you mean? I know airport concessions is restaurants in the airport. How do you even find your way into this business, man?
Man, look, I wish I could say I mapped all this out and I had this beautiful vision about starting a restaurant, ended up in an airport. It didn't happen anything like that. So what happened was I was working in corporate America and I detested it. It was just not for me. So I knew I had to do something else. Wanted to get into business for myself. And because I had spent a bunch of time in restaurants just kicking it, just going to lounges, going to restaurants, going to clubs, when it was time to exit corporate America, when I thought of businesses that I could conceptually understand, I thought I could put this together. I know a restaurant you need food, so you get a chef. It needs to look good, so you get a designer and an architect. You need good service, so you hire a good man. I just thought I understood the component parts to get it to do a restaurant. So that's why I decided to open up a restaurant, because I thought it was something I could put together. Now, that's not the way you want to get into the restaurant business, because that shit is hard. Like, it is really tough. You want to be more studied than that. But we got into it and opened a restaurant, started operating, but didn't make any money. We didn't know what we were doing. That forced us to be in the restaurant all the time. And in being in the restaurant all the time, we met thousands of people like weekly. And over the course of meeting those people, by being in there, had all types of incredible conversations and relationships. And some of those conversations were about airport concessions. And that's how I learned about it. And the more folks would come that did that stuff too, that, the airport concessions business, the more they talked about it, the more it became interesting to me and my business partner. And so we started looking into it, learning about it, and then had people supporting us toward moving in that direction. And that's how we got into it. So that's like the backstory to how we ended up there. But it came out of organic conversations by working the business we started, and then tuning into the things that just resonated with us. Like, wait a minute, that sounds like something to get into.
So whenever you first heard of the concept of airport concessions, were you just kind of taken aback, or did you start doing more research on it? Or was it just after, you heard it 2 or 3 times, you brought it up, and you was like, man, maybe I need to look into this a little bit more?
I mean, I think the first time or so I heard, because when I hear concessions, I think like a fair or like
football game,
cotton candy football game, boiled peanuts. I'm not thinking restaurant. So I don't think the first time it landed on me how big an industry it was. But when someone sat me down and say, no, Randy, and Kevin holds my business partner, here's what this is, and here's what airport concessions really means, and it's doing what you do in a space where airlines are flying in passengers. You're not, you just focusing on the operation. Like, that's what this is. That's when the light bulb went on.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, yeah, I need to see about that.
So basically, concessions just mean where you're not actually going out and recruiting the customer. You're just there to support the customer for the larger business.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, people don't go to airports to eat. They go to fly, but they eat when they're there. And a lot of people that go to fly want to eat. So you don't have to worry about marketing. It's just not something you focus on, the operation. So half the job we had when we opened our first restaurant, we no longer had to do. We got to focus on giving a good experience, operating the brand as it's supposed to be, and just delivering, our best service. And so that's really what it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So and making that connection with concessions, like you said, people don't come to the airport to eat; they go there to fly. I think about the same thing as a football game. Exactly. You don't go to the football game to eat, but if you're there, you might as well get something to eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Popcorn,
it help the time pass by.
Absolutely.
So Randy, I kind of want to go back a little bit, right? I know we started talking about airport concessions, and I definitely want to dive into that. But I want to go back to that first venture. Like, I know you were in corporate. You and your partner Kevin, y'all took a step out. I think at the time you were an investor as well, right? You were invested in real estate, and he was in Wall Street.
That's right.
So you guys, how did you finance that first restaurant? You guys used your own capital. You went get loans. How would that work out for you guys?
So first of all, y'all do your homework for real. Like, y'all really okay?
Okay, yeah. We try to pay attention to a little something. Yeah, a little something,
But I was, to your point, I was in corporate America, and I'm single, no kids, not a lot of bills, and I was taught to save by my parents, so I had put some money away, and I was also investing in real estate while in corporate America, and I was flipping houses. It was easy because the market was just going crazy in Atlanta around that time, and so I was putting a lot of that money away, and so to answer your question, how we financed it, I used a lot of that money.
Use your own money.
My own money, my own cash. Now, my business partner worked on Wall Street, and he had done well just working on Wall Street, one of the big investment banks there. Saved a lot of that money. The gap between the cash we had and what we needed, I mean, we did the credit card, cash advance thing. I maxed out $80,000 across 4 credit cards. I'm not recommending this, but this was our story.
Yeah.
Because we had already started writing checks for construction, didn't have a well compose budget, and we were short of what we needed. So now we got to figure out the gap. So then we started doing things like credit card, which you would hope to not have to do, but we did. And then a little bit of family and friends, frankly.
Oh, really?
And that's how we got the first one open, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that didn't have to be the case if we planned well, budgeted well, and then shopped around the costs a little bit, like architects, designers, construction, build out, mechanical, plumbing. If we got more diligent about that, we probably could have got a lower cost and would have been able to cover that with the money we had. But we didn't, so we got creative.
Had y'all ever thought about, I know you did the credit card, but had y'all ever thought about like business financing or anything like that? You know, with your friend being on Wall Street, was he privy to like, yo, we can get a business loan for this or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we got told no by about every bank we could find. And you got a couple of brothers with no business ownership experience. We have both just been in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
Banks don't like people that only have ideas.
Too
They like
risky.
people that have ideas and a track record.
Mm-hmm.
We only had ideas. And then we getting into one of the riskiest industries out there.
Low
the
margins,
failure rate is
yeah.
crazy. And we go to a bank like, can we get a bunch of money? Not today.
Yeah.
Not tomorrow neither. And it was just that kind. So we had to figure it out. But, yeah, we did try to get loans, but we learned quickly that there was going to be next to no bank that would fund us from where we were at the time.
In corporate America, what were you doing, if you don't mind me asking? Were any of those skills transferable to the restaurant industry?
So what I was doing, I was working in consumer packaged goods. It was a company that made shelf-stable food products and some frozen and refrigerated.
So you were food adjacent.
Yeah, food adjacent, right? That's a good way to put it. Yeah, so they made like cereal and all this stuff. The big company, Fortune 100 company. So my job getting into that company was to take, they called it scan data, but when you go to a grocery store and they scan the product, all that's captured.
I got
and
you.
who's buying what, and to like get all that data, understand those trends, and then pull insights from it
everything.
To say, hey, based on what we see people buying, we should do more of this or less of that or places over here. So that was my job first. And then I got into selling products into the grocery chains on a business level, like business to business level. And they call that category management, that kind of thing, sales, and then a little bit of marketing. Those skills, I mean, really, I learned about organization. I learned about leadership, watching good leaders and bad leaders. But the skills itself, they weren't as much transferable to what we're doing in restaurants.
Just because it was a like new territory for you,
yeah,
right?
Totally new, totally different. Yeah, it wasn't a lot that I could use other than, managing teams, leading people, which is important. Like, I'm not, that's really important, but not the direct kind of sales stuff I was doing.
Got you. So, Randy, now I know you were saying whenever y'all were building out, you were using a lot of credit cards, all this stuff. I think I read once that like you were at one point you were on the brink of bankruptcy. Was that from that part of the restaurant, like trying to get everything together?
Yeah, and like not on the brink. We went all the way up and through bankruptcy.
Ooh. So wait. You went through bankruptcy and did y'all kept the restaurant?
So we filed personal bankruptcy.
Okay.
And kept the restaurant intact because that's all we had. So we filed personal bankruptcy to keep this protected. And so the credit cards, for example, those were personal on our personal credit. So when you file bankruptcy, they wipe all of that.
Gotcha.
So all the debt that we used to fund the business was personal, and that's why I found personal bankruptcy made sense because it could like
gotcha
clean, what I mean, wipe
could give you kind of a clean slate with that. So whenever the personal bankruptcy, I'm trying to see if I'm as familiar, is like what, Chapter 7?
Chapter 7. Yeah.
Chapter 7. That's whenever they just clear it, or is it when they restructure?
This was a clearing.
Okay.
I had way more debt because I had a house, I had a car. I mean, the business was making no money, but this was the only source of income. So there was no way we were going to pay these bills. So no, it wasn't restructuring. It was totally wiping the debt. Now there are options where you can restructure, particularly on the business side, Chapter 11. But no, this was like, I need y'all to go ahead and
I got
okay,
like,
so
what was the mindset
like
for you in this period of time?
I mean, it was interesting. I was more stressed out in corporate America than in the middle of bankruptcy.
Really?
That's that, like, swear to God. And so I was just so focused on the other side, and I just think I have that kind of crazy where I can be in the fire and not really sweat the burn, just be thinking about, you know what I mean? And so it didn't get to me like you might think, because I didn't identify with that being me. It's just where I was, you know? It's just, I don't know where I got that mind state from. But nothing about what we were going through felt like it was like who I am. That wasn't my identity.
Lower your value as a person.
Right. Now, I mean, it was sleepless nights because we working around the clock. And don't get me wrong, it's not fun. Like, it's stressful. It's you know, I'm dealing with the weight of all of this, and I got people depending on me and everything else. But I just wasn't worried that this was the end of the story.
Gotcha.
I just wasn't worried about
you knew it was brighter days going to be coming.
Yeah, because the other thing, what choice do you have? I'm supposed to die here?
Facts.
You know, so it's
if
just,
you quit, what really is going to happen?
I'm supposed to go be
I'm just more stressed and I really ain't got nothing. Yeah,
exactly. So I had to, and we don't come from, you know, ain't like mommy and daddy got some.
Chances are you were the highest earner in your family at the time whenever you quit your job.
I mean, pretty much. So it wasn't an option, and it wasn't me. It's just where I was.
What did you see in the restaurant due to the fact that it wasn't making no money, but you still was like, this is something we got to keep, and it's going to work?
Yeah. What did I see in it? So one thing, I think one of the things that saved us was that we put a lot of money into the design. Like, when you went, it was a nice spot. Like, people want to be in there. And in Atlanta, where our community, particularly black folks, like, and not just Atlanta, in the country, to me, like, we're the trendsetters. Like, we tell mainstream ultimately what's cool, where to go, how to speak. Like, that's us. And so, and I think Atlanta is one of those kind of cities that is an exporter of culture. Sure, you know, like, Atlanta influences everything. That's one of our slogans. So because you came in there and it was in a new neighborhood that had a lot of history, but it was nothing happening there, and it was like downtrodden. It was a lot of crime and a lot, like, all this, and then we put our money in that neighborhood. So it's like, well, that's interesting. That's something different. That's something new. And you walk in there, and it's like, you could have been anywhere. You could have been Miami, LA, New York. People want to be there. So us being that kind of trend-setting spot, like, people gave us a lot of chances because they wanted to be in it. And there's a couple brothers working it. Yeah, the ambiance, right. And there's a couple brothers working it. And so that is what, to answer your question, like, one of the things that sustained us that I saw, like, nah, people are going to keep coming back. We got to keep getting better, you know, raise the bar in these other places. So now we can capture across not just it being dope in here, but service is great and operations is great and the whole thing.
Oh, I'm glad you touched on that, right? So once again, you saw that. So what was the first point that y'all had to fix to start making money? Did y'all ever figure it out and be like, okay, now we starting to crank, we got good service, or now we got a fire menu or something like that?
Yeah, we did figure it out. It probably took about 18 months to start making money, like start bringing. People were flooding the doors from day one. It didn't have to take that long. We just didn't know. We ain't know better.
Y'all didn't know the formula.
Right. So what we ended up having to do was reset everything. So we got new managers. We trained them better. We fixed our menu by way of making sure that the items that we selling on the menu are actually profitable. Like, you could have great food, but if that doesn't make money, if your price is not high enough or your cost low enough to have money at the end of the day, what's the point of selling good food and going out of business on the way? So we got that right, and that also meant renegotiating costs with the suppliers, right? Because they were getting over on us because they knew we didn't know how much we should be paying for a pork chop. So we got all of that right. And then going back to, like, setting the trend, we built a rooftop deck that had a cigar element to it. So it was a level of, like, a reinvention to, like, get people back into, they got something over there that's new, and try us again, and now we ready. And that's when, I mean, we went from losing money to having, like, a 40% profit margin, which is
dope and crazy in the restaurant.
I was just about to say, isn't it like
insane?
15 to 20 in the restaurant?
If you lucky these days, if you lucky. So that all of that went into becoming profitable. The crazy thing is that money was always in the door. We just couldn't catch. We weren't catching it. It wasn't like
it was leaking out.
Yeah,
y'all had like a leaky bucket.
It was leaking out of everywhere. Mm-hmm. But we had people coming in, and so the thing is, like on the front end, go into it the right way, because we could have been earning from day one. We could have. We legitimately could have, but we didn't. We didn't do the work, the homework.
Mm. Did y'all meet a mentor or somebody that kind of helped y'all figure it out?
No, and I don't. I think it was a combination of not knowing where to find folks, and maybe not knowing how to have those conversations, and then some folks maybe not being willing to sit down and rap with you. But between those things, we didn't really have mentors. We learned by failure and by getting
trial and error,
trying something else, trial and error. That's really what did it.
I often say I think trial and error is one of the, like, even though, you know,
it's important
to have mentors. It's important to have people who can help you navigate things. Trial and error is when you truly internalize a lesson the most. You can take theory from somebody, but whenever it happened to you, it's like I always think about when you was a baby, you burn your hand on that stove the first time. Like, I'm not gonna touch that. That's hot. You know, like I'm gonna take this lesson and always live by it now.
Your mama can tell you as many times as she want to, it's hot. Don't touch it until you go.
It's not the same.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
So Randy, all right. So 18 months in, y'all hit a profit. Things start rolling the right way. You figuring everything out. You operate the restaurant for another 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah, from that point, about another 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
So then you guys exited. Can we kind of talk about that, like the whole process of exiting the restaurant?
Yeah. So in the time that we were getting our house in order is when we were hearing these conversations I was mentioning earlier about concessions and all this, and a couple of folks that would come to our restaurant were owners in big concession companies, either owners or executives in big concessions companies that were gonna be going after some space in the Atlanta airport. And the way that works is an airport will say, hey, you know, these leases are about to expire. So all the restaurants that you walk by in airports, they're on leases. Might be 10 years, might be 15 years, 20 years, whatever. But when that term is up, the airport bids them back out, like puts them back out for people to compete for them. Right? And so these companies were saying, we're going to be competing on these leases that are about to expire. And it's like 100 restaurants. And we want you to be a partner of ours because you did this here in Atlanta. You homegrown. Everybody loves y'all because you've been around for a while, established a name, and you will be a good story to tell alongside our whole proposal. So when we really leaned into that and got to, okay, well, what is this going to cost? Well, our first build out for the first contract we won, because all these are contracts, it was 12 stores. The build out was like $10 million, right? And our share of that was gonna be like $1.3 million, which we did not have. I just started making money. And they agreed to cover like 80% of that 1.3. We had to make up the difference.
Wow.
And the only asset we had was that restaurant. So I was like, we got to sell it. And that was what the exit of that restaurant was about. It was about coming up with the money to pay for our share or the leftover share of ours so that we could, be in a deal.
Did y'all have some battles internally like, oh, should I do this? This is risky. Or were y'all just like, now we've been hearing about this. Let's go.
Yep, nope. I was like, let's go. Let's do it. We had done the homework by that point. We saw the numbers. Like, we saw the numbers of the company. We had talked to a bunch of people. That was a way better business than what we operated, even though we were making money now. But where that could go, we're talking about 12 restaurants.
Yeah.
Right off the rip.
Versus
off
one.
Top, versus one. Even though we got a small stake, but a small stake times 12. And then you on the backs of a huge restaurant company that has all the infrastructure, all the teams, all the back end accounting and HR. Like, let's go do that.
And they also believe in y'all. With the fact that they said it will take up 80% of this, we believe in y'all story and everything. I definitely see why it was a no-brainer for y'all just to be like, they believe in us, we working, let's go get it.
For sure. And truthfully, I mean, I think, so we had been working in that, our first restaurant, 5 years, pretty much every day. I mean, in 365 days, maybe 5 days not or something. I mean, it was.
That get tired.
We were like tired, man. It's like we want to pivot, take a breath, get our footing and then go at the next thing. So it was all of that coming together at the same time. But we saw the upside in this space as way bigger than the upside on just this one restaurant.
That makes perfect sense. And I'm glad you mentioned that with like, I didn't know that that's what you had sold it for, was so that you could make that leap into the next opportunity. Because one thing I often hear is a criticism now, whenever we talk about black founders selling their businesses, a lot of times in our community we get a real big backlash.
Emotional attachment.
Yeah, like
to
it's like,
business.
why would you sell that? I think recently the lady with Honey Pot, she sold a majority stake in that, and like everybody's, she sold, what was the lady said? She sold her generational wealth.
She gave away her generational wealth.
Like, I like your example because it kind of helps paint that picture. It's like you didn't sell your generational wealth. You just used it to level up. It's like in Monopoly when you trade the 4 houses in for the hotel. Yeah. Like it's not a I'm quitting. It's a I'm leveling up.
Yeah, yeah. And in fairness to Honey Pot, Beatrice Dixon, and I'm just saying this because I know her and I had some involvement early on. She did not sell, from my understanding. The company that came in bought a majority stake. All the investors, but for her and one of the other founders. So all her stock is still in the company and she's running it. Yeah. But even if she had, to your point, even if she had, like we gotta appreciate that. Let's say that she had, or any of us do. I mean, we gotta appreciate that we're taking something from nothing, right? From just our mind and our spirit, and we are creating value to the point that down the road somebody wants to give hundreds of millions of dollars, and we're gonna be mad about that. And then if it's someone that has the kind of mindset to do that in the first place, imagine what they can do now. Do you know what I could do if I was starting out not broke like we started out and not having to go through bankruptcy? So I mean, we gotta let our people fly, and we gotta know everybody's flight might look a little bit different, but it's all a win, And mainstream folks, they do this stuff all the time. Private equity funds will buy companies to multiply its value and liquidate it. They're flipping stuff, just like it's nothing but a flip. But I understand the sentiment, but I think feeling like there is some kind of negative aspect to that is really not understanding. Why some folks go into this, what business is, what it takes, and then what you can do when you do level up. So I love it. But to your point, we did it to pivot, which is also an option. It's all an option, but we did it to pivot and level up so that we could grow and kind of get what we've gotten.
What did that first year look like once y'all pivoted? Was there lessons that y'all learned? Was there like, we did a great year, like revenue-wise? What would that first year look like for you?
Yeah. So the first year looked like a lot of learning, because now, to your point about leveling up, now we on like a bigger stage, right? This portfolio of 12 restaurants, we are projected to do $30 million, right? Our restaurant was like 1.5, 1.5, maybe 2. So we had a whole different, the contracts look different. The accounting looks different. Understanding what it means to be in a partnership at that level is different. So I'm like learning all of that and taking that in. And then understanding like operating at scale. We got one restaurant, we doing everything. I'm mopping, sweeping, tossing drinks and all that. You got a portfolio of restaurants. You got a whole team that you got to manage from up here. So it was like a lot of being in school for me, and being all over, because we were very hands-on. Everything we have is now transferred into this thing. So we running all over everywhere, trying to see, what's what. So that's kind of what that first year was like.
In my head, it almost make me think like a freshman year of college, right?
Yes.
You're running around, going to all these different types of classes, because in these 12 restaurants in this portfolio right now, right, y'all went from managing the restaurant that you created to managing different franchises at this point, right?
Correct. Now, so we weren't the majority company technically was the
managing partner.
So we were like non-operating partners, but we had responsibility to go check up on this, do quality assurance here, that kind of thing.
Like
so we would
support
go
roles.
Support roles. So we would go across the brands and perform those roles.
Gotcha.
That was what we did early on.
You still kind of have to, even for the different brands, like learn the different standards for each one.
Exactly.
Kind of like an apprenticeship almost for y'all.
It really was. It really was. And to your point, I mean, learning, every brand is different. So I had to learn all of that.
So now I kind of want to get into that part of it. I know you're a big fan of franchising.
Love it.
So franchising versus starting your own thing. Why do you believe franchising is such that much better than trying to come out and create your own restaurant?
Yeah, man, I love that question because I love franchising. So the reason, the shortest answer to that is that most franchises that are worth your time, like something you would want to get behind, have been around for a very long time and have grown over time and have made money over time, which means they've figured out a successful business model. Like they did all that work. All the stumbling we were doing, all that's out the way. They're saying, listen, we have figured out this playbook over the last 50 years of doing this and trying stuff and winning at stuff and failing at stuff. And here's where we have arrived. All you got to do is do this, and you're likely to end up averaging where we average. And that is a way easier and more likely route to succeed than starting your own thing like we did. I mean, we started from scratch, everything from our own brain, just thinking we had an idea, and we got beat up all along the way. So I love franchises because they make it easy for you. The success rate for franchising is said to be plus 90%, as in someone that starts a business that is a franchise business has a 90+% success rate, or the average person that starts a business has a 65% failure rate. I mean, just on the odds in itself. And it's for our community, because we are so entrepreneurial naturally, I believe. If we transfer that energy into businesses that are already proven to work. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but the likelihood is so much greater. So I'm just always trying to get our folks into that, because I think we have more successes, and that means more success for us, for our folks, for our community, for our towns, for our, That's why, it's just I just really believe in it.
That makes sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense, because like you said, instead of trying to figure it out, create the wheel, you just hop into this system, learn the system, and then it's basically a money printer. It's like turnkey businesses.
Pretty much. And we got to be okay. Listen, we got to get about economic freedom. We got to get to be really about money and not necessarily looking cool along the way and making money. Like, it doesn't have to be our idea. Like, we don't have to be to this person or that person. Get the bag is where I'm at. And franchising is just a clearer path to that.
Are there any disadvantages or any hurdles to franchising that comes with it, though?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good question too. And franchising is not just restaurants. You can franchise anything: janitorial services, floor coverings, blinds. I mean, you name it. Roofing, fix it. I mean, you name it. There's something for you, but it can be expensive. Like, if you want to start out and open a McDonald's, I mean, that's a couple $1 million. Like, who can just walk in? I couldn't. So but there you can also start janitorial services, which is a fraction of that. So there are some cost differences. The other disadvantages another disadvantage is it's not your idea. I don't even think that's a disadvantage, man. I don't care. Not like
some people they want their legacy to live on.
I'm a hamburger salesman, man. Like, it ain't the coolest thing in the world, but like, that register ringing all day long. Like, that's pretty cool to me.
I'm making money.
You know what I'm saying? So, but some people might say, well, yeah, it's somebody else's system. And then in that is you have to do it their way. And the reason is because that's what has worked for a very long time. But that means, less creative control and that kind of thing. So if those are things that people are really intent on, then they'll see those as disadvantages. And again, if you got an idea that you just can't, you can't help yourself from wanting to do it, then by all means, pursue it. If you just want to be a business person and create financial freedom, go this route. Is what I would say.
And another question that I had written down, I don't know if you'd be able to speak to it, is competition within franchises, right? Like, one of the franchises I studied was Subway. And one of their biggest complaints from a lot of their operators is Subway would allow one Subway to open up on this block and then another one to open within a very close radius.
Like
so
less than
now
a
they're
mile.
pitted against each other. Yeah. Can you speak to that, or do you not really?
No, so I don't have any Subways, just to be clear, but I'm familiar with that. And that
Just
is
like
true.
competition
Yeah.
within franchising.
And that is, I think that is mismanagement of growth by that franchisor. The franchisee is the person that operates me. Franchisor is the brand itself, Subway in this example. I think they got too aggressive about just having stores and forgot to think about where they call it market saturation, but where you start to cannibalize yourself. You're stealing, from this store to get sales over to this store. And I just think Subway was not measured well in how they kind of program their territory and that kind of thing. But I would also, that raises the point of when you get into getting it, when you find a brand that you want to take into franchising, you got to know, what are your growth plans? Like, how much territory am I going to have to operate this business? You want to ask those kinds of questions so that doesn't happen. Because it shouldn't.
Can you be competitive? Like, is there anything that they would allow you to do? Because I know you said you have to play by their rules. Like, are there like any specials that you can be like, yeah, maybe I can do a manager special to increase foot traffic or something like that? Do they allow you that type of autonomy?
Generally, no. Okay. Generally, everything is supposed to go through them. But I will say some brands are more hands-on than others. Like, some brands care more than others. The brands that are very hands-on and that care a lot, like, that tend to be the bigger brands, the Starbucks, the McDonald's, and by the way, tend to be the most successful brands. You gonna do it like this because this works, and this is who we are. Some brands don't care, and you could, it could be a pizza place. You mess around and start selling fried fish, and they wouldn't know the difference.
That's
because they're not paying attention.
Yeah,
but those brands tend to not last. So there is some of that, but it's mainly when brands aren't managing their brand.
I got you. Yeah. And then one more question I had, like, on franchising, what I thought about was the easiness of supply chain, of all of the things that you don't have to figure out, right? Whenever I think of a restaurant, I think of the cups like that are being produced. I think of, like you said, the suppliers of the food. You don't have to worry about negotiating the cost. You don't have to. You also get, I'm pretty sure, a better rate because now it's coming through bulk because this is that one customer. It's going all under this one account, so I'm pretty sure you get better pricing and stuff like that. Can you speak to some of those advantages as well?
You hit the nail on the head. So all the products that you sell, like that you buy as ingredients, they tell you exactly what products those are, and they already have those prices negotiated because they say, hey, I'm the 10-pound, the 10,000-pound gorilla, whatever they're saying, the 800-pound gorilla, and they'll go to these big suppliers and say, if you want, McDonald's business or Shake Shack business or Subway's business, we need to get it at a discount. We need a better price, and they pass that price down to the operator, and that is a huge benefit. You having one mom and pop, they're not going to talk to you about discounts.
Yeah.
It's not.
You're not at the economies of scale. Yeah,
economies of scale. That's exactly right. But the big guys, absolutely, and they pass it. You get to win off of that discount that they get.
That's good.
So now, kind of getting into the concession side of it again. One thing I was watching a few of your interviews. I know we mentioned we did our homework. You were talking about the ACDBE programs. How did you learn about that? And for audience, Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise is the name of the program. How'd you come about that? And can you just kind of speak to it some?
You're the first person not in the business that I've heard say that full acronym. Like most people, you brothers did your homework. All right, so how did I learn about that? That came out of those conversations being in the restaurant. Guys that were ACDBEs coming and talking about it.
And when we say DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, that's so you just want to get a certification for that,
You wouldn't get a certification, right. So what that means is it's a minority or women-owned business. And by owned, I mean 51% ownership or more. So you got to have control of your company. Doing less than 50, I think it's $55 million in annual revenue. And then there's certain personal net worth. You know, you can't be worth $1 billion and be disadvantaged, kind of thing. So that's what that means. So if you are a woman or a minority and own the majority of your company and aren't too rich and don't have sales over $55 million, you can be qualified for that. And most of that is handled by the state. You know, in Atlanta, or in the state of Georgia, it used to be, I think, the Department of Transportation. Now it's another arm of it, but it's a government certification, and you go and get certified. And what that does is it makes you more attractive to the airports, because airports get credit for how many DBE companies operate in there. So it makes you more attractive to them, and it makes you more attractive to big operators that are looking for partners to help tell this story, because they need to come to the airport and say, hey, we got this amount of DB participation. Here's these great folks that do that. Here's why you should choose us. So it makes you more competitive in the environment.
Okay. Yeah. So whenever they're doing that, they do go out and just say, okay, we're going to put a portfolio of people together for this. When did you make the switch? Because your current company, you're kind of doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, as in competing for the contracts?
Well, like, I know your first deal was like where you guys kind of came in as the apprentice. Yes, right. But now you guys are doing the majority of the operating yourselves now, right?
Yes, we are now operating. Yeah.
So, and are you bringing in DBEs and like having other stakeholders come in as well?
So we're not. So the folks that are not DBEs, like these big companies, they call them primes, right?
Okay.
So we're not at that level to where we're bidding on 10 or 12 stores at a time. H&H Hospitality.
Gotcha.
We might bid on 1 or 2 stores,
at a time,
and we can run that whole thing.
Gotcha.
The idea is to grow to become a prime so that we can put more people on. I mean, that's one of the things that I really do this for, is to have the platform that can be a springboard for others. So we're trying to grow aggressively to be exactly that. But now we've kind of grown from being an apprentice into, okay, we can handle the whole thing ourselves, like the sizes that we can do. And now we're trying to grow to, man, we'll take down the whole thing. We'll do 10 or 15 restaurants at a time. So that's next for us.
What did that transition look like for you guys, going from that apprenticeship to actually launching H&H?
So we had launched H&H before we were apprentice. I mean, we were the apprentice as H&H.
Yeah.
But our first it's kind of interesting. So our first move towards operating our own was in our own portfolio. Like in those 12 restaurants that we won with this company, one of them was like losing money. It just wasn't performing. We weren't operating it, but it wasn't performing. But I knew it could. It had a good location. I could just see the opportunity. The team in there wasn't that good. So I go to our partner, majority partner, and say, let me buy it. Let me buy it out of our joint venture. Right? And I say this with no money. I mean, I still got no money. I'm still broke. We still ain't making no money yet. We just got in the contract. But so I convinced him to sell it to me. I go find a guy that happens to be a DBE, so we can still get all the credit for it, that has a bunch of money because he's been a DBE for a long time and he saved and everything else. And I say, hey, I got a deal. If you put up the money, you can, have a stake in it. I'll operate it. Everybody wins. Let's do it. And he agreed to do it. And so we purchased that. We acquired that restaurant out of our own JV. In 30 days, we had it profitable. And in a year, it had done like $1.2 million in profit.
Dang.
From losing. And that's when I'm like, man, I'm about to
take over the game.
We about to do the whole thing.
They done messed up and let me figure this shit out.
You see this? Okay. And from there, it was just off to the races. It was like, we got to do this again and again. And now we're taking down more and more at a time to grow to be that prime.
That's dope, man. That is cool. So when did you guys so you start operating your own restaurants? When did you expand out of Atlanta?
So our first restaurant outside of Atlanta, I want to say we had 2 different airports that we got into at just about the same time. It was DC and Texas. And that was right around, I want to say like 2017.
Okay.
Something like that. So where one of the brands that we took into Atlanta on one of the single bids we went after, he's like, hey, brand, we got this great space. I think we can win it. Come on with us. And they agree. That same brand was called by the DFW airport, if I'm not mistaken, who was saying, we really like your brand. We want you in here. And they went to the partners, like the people that were going to be the operators of it, and said, we need H&H to be a part of this because of the job they did in Atlanta, and that's the only way we'll do it. And so they kind of put us in there because the level of work that we had put in. Yeah. Because whatever we do, we pursue excellence. Like, we don't play about this work. If we're going to do it, let's do it. And that paid off down the road.
That speaks to the value of good work, though. Like, your work will put your name in rooms that you can't get into.
Brother, say that.
Because, like,
say that.
The fact that y'all were able to turn that around, and they're like, we not coming to Dallas unless they're a part of this. Like, that gave y'all so much more leverage. I don't know if y'all were privy to that conversation before it happened, but it's like, if you just do great work and if you do good by people, like, it's going to speak for itself.
Like, though, what you just said, those two things, I heard you say two things, excellence and integrity. When people ask me, like, how do you do it? How do you win? And you got all this stuff, and sometimes this or political, that. My observation has been excellence over time wins, period. Like, it is really hard to stop someone that is excellent, that's not the same thing as being perfect. There is no such thing. But I'm talking about working in excellence every single time. You'll lose some here and there, but in the long term, you're up. That's like the Jordan formula and the Kobe Bryant formula. And when they in the gym first and last, and they lose some games and miss some shots, but you look at the arc of their career, who was better?
Can't deny the work.
You can't deny it. So if you do anything, this is not an exercise in being cute. It's just not. If you're serious about it, you got to go in and get after it. And that will pay off to where people are like, yeah, we'll do it, but we need to do it with them. They got to be a part of it because they know how we do it. So, and then integrity, like not compromising no matter what people can say about you. Don't ever let them be able to say you were shady, dishonest, you picked somebody's pocket, none of that stuff. Like reputation intact at all costs. Those two things over time, it's hard to beat that. It's hard to beat that, man.
And sometimes it might take the long way, but me and David was having this conversation last night. Like, it might take the long way, but you feel so much better whenever you come out on the other side. Yeah. And it help you sleep so much better at night.
And it's sustainable. That shit that you get on some tricks, like it's flimsy. Like, you can't, you know what I mean? Like, it's not 10 toes. That stuff that you built brick by brick by laying each one perfectly and being honest about it. Like, when you get there, like, you're there. Like, you standing on all those bricks. And so
foundation that's just too strong to be knocked over.
You can't. So that's just the way we try. And you're going to make mistakes. It's, again, not about being perfect, but, like, you give it everything you know to give it.
Another thing I heard you speaking about with the franchise thing that I did have a question about was licensing. What's the difference between franchising and licensing?
Really nothing.
Okay. It's just like when it,
like structurally, yeah. So franchises are governed by the same agency that governs the stock market, the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. Yeah, same thing. So when you are franchising a brand, you have to go through a process that is a lot more stringent than a license. It's a shorter cut to a similar kind of structure. Now, there's some things you don't get with it, but that's really what that is about. And the other reason that people do it is they'll say, like Shake Shack, for example, they don't franchise, but they also, it doesn't make sense for them to operate in airports because it's just a whole different kind of business. So what they can do is like, all right, we'll give you a license deal. That way we're not compromising the fact that we don't franchise. We can still say, hey, no, we're not franchising, but over here we did a license because XYZ and this airport needs local this, and and so it's kind of a route to get around that as well.
Got you. Save yourself a lot of headache Sound like the SEC dealing with it. That just makes it
Yeah,
a whole nother
we
level.
don't-
Like,
I really
don't want
didn't. I didn't know that the SEC was a part of franchising.
Yeah.
so now you kind of mentioned something that I want to ask, Randy. You saying like operating a restaurant out of the airports is a lot different than operating out of the store. Can you talk to some of them differences? Obviously, I know like y'all probably got like different types of, the price is always different for one. So I'm sure the cost of getting the food there is higher. Can you talk to some of them things?
Yeah, he's price. We're gonna tax you a little bit more because it is more expensive. So everything's more expensive. Let's just say that rent, construction, most times ingredients. I mean, all that stuff is more expensive. The biggest differences are hiring people because these are secure environments. We're talking about airports, right? So, I mean, you know what you got to do to take a flight. So you talk about hiring someone, they got to get a background check. They got to be fingerprinted. They have to run those fingerprints like through, I get the TSA or whoever, which
All
takes
them
weeks,
databases, yeah.
right? So you're talking about a population of people that get paid hourly to wait 3 to 4 weeks to start their job to get a check. Whereas on the street, if I see you and like you now, I can put you in the fryer tomorrow or maybe today. You might wait 2, 3, 4 weeks to get them in. So you end up losing a lot of people because most of us can't wait that long to get a check. Like I need that like now.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing. Little stuff like you can't have knives just hanging around the store. Every knife in a restaurant in an airport has to be tethered to like the wall. Because
I never
people
saw
take
a
the
knife.
knives and
Yeah, it makes sense.
you know, so
That can
all the
definitely be a
not
weapon.
tethered.
Damn.
And if you're not, you'll get fined because that is a security risk. So that's another one. The other stuff is like spaces tend to be very small because again, fixed amount of space. They're trying to make the most out of every square foot. So you got to do a lot with a little. Inventory's tight, like all that kind of stuff.
I never thought about any of that.
Yeah, it is harder to. I mean, the business comes to you easier because airlines do that, but the operating of the business is harder. Like it is.
So there's benefits and drawbacks. Now, with the, God dang it, I had a thought in my head. It slipped.
If you don't have,
Go
got
ahead.
it.
Go ahead.
So I know right now you're mainly just operating in the airports. Do you have any desires of getting brick and mortar locations outside of airports, expanding in that realm as well?
Sure do, absolutely, and I tell you why, because COVID almost killed us. Remember we were quarantining, wasn't nobody coming outside, nobody was flying. All my stuff is in airports, and airports are ghost towns. I didn't know, and we didn't know what was gonna happen. Like we could, if we didn't get support from the Fed and from the state and from the city, lights out. But that told me is like, don't keep all your eggs in one basket, and then have more stuff that you have more control over. Like I have more control over street side stuff than airport stuff because the level of security and the checks and balances and all that. So I'm absolutely going to be getting back, we call it street side, but getting back street side and opening up some brands, or at least a brand that I've been working on for 2 years to be my first franchise brand. So that's coming.
Is it going to be in Atlanta?
Atlanta, yeah.
So okay, let me make sure I'm getting this right for you, Randy. So you gonna, now that you got this knowledge, you're gonna start your own business with, like, you're gonna be the franchisor.
That's right.
That's
Hey.
dope.
Yeah,
That's
man.
dope.
Congratulations,
Well,
man.
thank you, man. And again, you never know. I think this is gonna go to the moon. Let me say this. I don't want to speak in doubt. I don't want to put that out there because I believe in it. But we got to get the lights open and get the doors open. But I'll be crazy. Like, shame on me if I spend a decade in this,
Learning all of
operating
these
10
things.
brands, sending all types of royalty checks to these people, and I don't even make a go at it. Knowing what I know, like I see how they do it. So yeah, we gonna make a go at it, and we gonna run.
So
We gonna run.
that kind of brings me
The royalty
back
check.
to earlier what you were speaking about, starting off learning the franchise model, but now, you're like, I got all the experience. It was basically me training, so now I can say this is how brands should operate. Now I can put my creativity and build my legacy.
That's right.
That's smart.
It's like getting on a business with training wheels instead of you just trying to ride a bike by yourself.
That's right. That's right.
I like that. That's dope. That's dope.
So yeah, you mentioned royalty checks to franchisors, right?
Yep.
How are those normally structured? Is it like a flat fee? Is it a percentage based type thing? How do those work?
Yeah, it's a percentage base. Typically, it's we gonna get 5 cents of every dollar, let's say, as our royalty. So, you do $1 million, you're gonna pay us $50,000 for us letting you use the brand and the likeness of it and giving you the systems and the menu and all the specs. But most times it's a percentage of the revenue.
Yeah. Got you. So, like you said, it makes sense to want to get into it. So now I do want to just ask a bit more about the question. Well, no, the franchise that he that was my question. The franchise that you're planning on opening. So you going to another restaurant venture?
Yeah, quick service. I'm out of the bar business. Great business. I just give me an engine. I want to operate that thing. But yeah, it's gonna be a fast food concept.
That's what's up, man. Well, definitely. I don't know if you want to share the name with us or not just yet. If you do, I know when I'm in Atlanta, I'm a definitely support.
We pulling out.
Yeah, not just yet. We almost there. But I'm gonna hit y'all when we get there, so you know.
Because we're gonna be back.
Y'all call me when you're in Atlanta.
We're gonna be in Atlanta for sure in September.
Yeah, later in September.
For the Black Men Summit.
Oh yeah, we'll be good by then. Definitely call me.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be hollering at you.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about the summit anyway, so we're gonna holler at you about that.
Okay, let's do it. Sure. Let's do it. I love it.
So besides that, what are some other things that you have coming down the pipeline? I know you want to start helping other DBEs, but what are some other things you got coming down the pipeline?
So we got a lot of growth that's about to happen in H&H. I mean, we're going really aggressively, and we're feeling very optimistic about it. So that's one thing. Talked about the brand, and I'm building this to be like a national brand, like stores everywhere. 100. I mean, we're going big because
why not?
Like what we're here for. And then I want to teach. I want to help people learn about franchising, like particularly Black folks, like for all the reasons we talked about. So I have helped put together a curriculum with a lady by the name of Ren Timpao. She goes by Franchising Queen. And I've helped her structure the course to have all the stuff that people need to know about getting into franchising. And we're going to put that out there for folks to to get and learn about. And I'm excited about that.
That's what's
I want us to be. I just think it could be huge for us, and
it could save people a lot of time. Like you said, you
money.
look at it, the numbers never lie, right?
Yeah.
Plus 9 out of 10 franchises around 5 years later.
Yep.
When it comes to independent businesses, I think 9 out of 10 of them close 5 years later. So
seriously, I mean, without question, if I could do it all over, I would have started with a franchise. Period. And I'd be willing to bet I'll be at least twice as big as I am now. Now, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that is what going that route can do in the same time period, same amount of effort. Because you're not tripping over silly lessons. Like they already got those out the way. So.
Can you give us your top 3 franchises you like to work with? Or I don't want to burn no bridges.
I don't want
to burn no bridges for you.
As soon as I walk out there, so
we're not in the top 3. It's like a MySpace friends list. Like, why we not up here?
Can't do that, man.
Okay. I'm not gonna get you in trouble.
But I have enjoyed and found benefit in all the franchises I work with. They're all different. All got different pros and cons.
I got you.
Yeah, but there's something to gain from all of them.
I got you.
Nice try.
Okay, I was just
nice try.
Hey, I just gotta try it. I do want to kind of pivot into our next section, which is called Standing on Business. Okay. And Standing on Business is a segment presented by the Private Small Business Society.
Yes, sir.
And their focus is helping small business owners actually have a standard of how they should operate. Teaching, like you just said, small business owners the fundamentals of operations, marketing, supply chain, and everything like that. Yeah. So we're going to give you 5 questions. Okay. 5 questions. We're going to test your business acumen. Right. Once again, it's called Standing on Business.
Standing on Business.
Yes, sir. So let me get these.
Give me the organization one more time.
The Private Small Business Society.
Private Small Business Society. Okay.
PSBS.
Yes, sir.
Let me pull up the questions. You got yours already?
I do not have those.
Okay, I got the document right here. If my phone would just.
All right. So I am your gracious host, David Bellard. We're going to start with the first question here. So let's start off. We'll give a little softball pitch one. In a SWOT analysis, S stands for A, systems, B, strengths, C, solutions, and D, standards. There we go. Ding, ding, ding. 1 for 1. Now, I said it was a softball.
I got you. You got to see. This is a real right and wrong question. This isn't like your opinion, nothing. It's like we are testing you. Okay.
Scope the scenery out. All right. So I got another one for you, Randy. Question number 2. Which financial statement provides a snapshot of a company's financial position at a specific point in time? A, income statement, B, cash flow statement, or C, balance sheet?
It's balance sheet, but that's worded kind of tricky, but balance sheet.
Yes, sir. Okay. You got it, though. That's two.
I got you.
He said, y'all ain't going to get me.
He said it was worded kind of tricky.
I don't care what I think no more. You your opinion, boy.
We're going to get right back to that. Don't worry.
We getting to the gotcha.
Nah, we ain't got you.
I'm playing with you.
Okay, I got my.
All right. I'm gonna let Jalen take over on the third one.
So, question: which of the following is an example of a tangible asset? A, brand reputation. B, employee skills. C, patents. Or D, manufacturing equipment.
Manufacturing equipment.
Let's go 3 for 3, man. Look, he killing this, man. I said,
he done been through the fire with his apprenticeship in the first business.
Man, look.
If I answer something wrong, I got to take all the tapes out of here. I got to shut the cameras down. I mean, this never happened. So no, we gonna get these, bro.
Let's see.
I think you got all of them.
Did you ask him the business plan one yet?
Nah, okay. Yeah, you go with that one.
Gonna look for the
what is the purpose? What is the primary purpose of a business plan? A, to guide the operational strategy of a business. B, to keep track of employee performance. C, to calculate the exact profit margin. Or D, to monitor social media trends.
It's A, but that's C on calculating the profit margin. There should be projections in there to do that, but it's A.
Hey, look, he giving us.
I'm not gonna just answer yes or no. I'm gonna give you some games
just in case. I said C too.
But hey, look, 4 for 4. You already know. So we got one last question for you, Randy. Appreciate you being a good sport on this one. What is a key component to effective marketing? Well, of effective marketing, rather. Focusing solely on traditional advertising, that's option A. B, ignoring online marketing channels. C, understanding and targeting the right audience. Or D, limiting customer feedback.
C.
Let's go. Ding, 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 ding. Mr. Hazelton, 5 for 5. I had no doubts in my mind. And this man
sweating over here.
Battle-tested entrepreneur.
I can't wait till we have our little section set up. We're going to have confetti and stuff popping out.
Oh, you try to get crazy.
Man. Why not?
But no, definitely, Randy, appreciate you. As always, guys,
this was
that
fun.
Is Standing on business, brought to you by the Private Small Business Society. If you're an entrepreneur, you're somebody that came out into the field, you may be new, don't really have that experience or that mentorship. That's what the Private Small Business Society is for. Community entrepreneurs offering education, certifications. Y'all check them out, thepsbs.com, or click the link in the show notes. Now, back to the show. All right. So, Randy, we got a few last questions for you, man. Definitely appreciate you joining us. So, we're going to get into our wrap-up questions. And the wrap-up question I always have for everybody is, what is the biggest money lesson that you've learned?
Biggest money lesson that I've learned. I'm gonna give you 2. Just, and because I break rules.
Always give value.
So,
I love it.
I mean, one is like really do your homework, which I've talked about, but I can't stress that enough, because you can accelerate your success so much by knowing more about what you're getting into. And the good thing is, what you are trying to do has substantially been done by somebody else before you. Mm-hmm. So, like, the blueprints are there. Like, find them and do that. Another one is on trusts. You hear like, oh, rich folks don't pay taxes, all that kind of stuff. And you hear about, oh, they got the trusts and they got this and it's offshore and all this kind of stuff. Trust is a legal structure where you can put money that has qualifications for tax exemption, as in money in that structure may be able to not be taxed depending on what you do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're up against 30-40% tax rate, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
If you so much as paying $20,000 or $30,000 a year in taxes, like just income tax, which means you make, I don't know, $70,000, even $60,000, it's worth looking into. Because and this is all legal. This isn't some old I'm
getting over or anything.
Hookup.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when you hear about these folks that, the Chick-fil-A Foundation or the Arthur Blank Foundation, all these folks got foundations. And they do good work out of that because it is 501c3. It is also a way to minimize your tax exposure. And so I would encourage folks to look into that. And I have some people that are experts at that. For anyone that might be interested, it's not a business of mine. I don't get paid. It's just something I've learned along the way that I have come to understand a lot more. And I would offer that. It's a big set.
Appreciate that. Yeah, keep that money in your pockets. Don't give it to Uncle Sam because they can't work with you. That's how I feel.
I'm telling you. So I got my favorite questions. My first one is: are you frugal or are you a flexer?
I'm neither. I have been in my life probably a little bit better of an earner than I've been a saver. Even though I like I said, I save, but I focus on earning more. So anyway, in that, and I wanted to earn more because I wanted to live life on my terms and do the kind of things I want to do. I don't know that I would call myself frugal, but I'm not like doing just wasteful stuff. Gotcha. I am like a Batman type. I don't need no spot. I mean, even this is like newer for me. Mm-hmm. I like to kind of move behind the scenes and
in the shadows.
Figure out what it is. It's already too late, and that's my style. So I'm kind of in between. Like I like to live life in a way that is enjoyable and feels good to me, and have a lot of fun and all that. But I like to be quiet on how I'm able to do that.
Yeah,
that's
don't have to be loud with it. Yeah.
Follow-up question. What is the most craziest thing you blew the bag on? Like, you're just like, that was dumb for me to spend my money on.
Oh, man. My first restaurant, man? No, should have got a franchise. I'm playing. Let me see, man. Gosh. The things I like are the things I like, man. So I don't know. I've gotten a couple of cars in my day. I enjoy those. I've taken some pretty wild trips. I enjoy that. I don't get off into
no really regrets
crazy.
with it.
No, well, I mean, when I was younger. See, now I sound all old. When I was your age, but
back in
my day. Right. I mean, when I quit corporate America, I had a retirement party. I was probably 26, and I mean, we got a section in the room. I don't. $10,000 on bottles and just
celebrate
ridiculousness to then go bankrupt a year later. So I might say the amount of money we spent on bottles and sections and being outside, in a form of life. That's what I would say.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Like you said, Jay. A lot of times, I think we talked about that with Derek Hayes. Sometimes you got to spend it to get that lesson.
You got to get it out you. Got to get it out you. My last question is, do you have life insurance?
I do have life insurance. I still want to know about y'all's, though.
Okay.
Because it's like, I have life insurance by just one of the carriers. It ain't like,
okay.
I'd rather work with us if it makes sense. But I do have it. I believe in it, like, 100%.
Okay.
For sure.
Hey, that's our question we ask all of our guests. We just want to make sure, like you heard it on the last episode, is life insurance is just one of the easiest ways to pass wealth. It doesn't matter if you have a family. Even you can have key person insurance on your business. You are your business partner. Y'all pass, and that person is critical to your business. You can insure them to help stabilize while you figure out what's the next move and everything like that. Life insurance can help you guys in any way, any shape possible. So I think that we believe that that's a product that everybody should just have because death is inevitable. You can't escape it. So
Fact. It's all about mitigating risk, man. That's how I look at everything. So you can offset it. It's important, and that's why that's why we stand on it as a brand, and we always do ask everybody that because we sometimes get surprised, man. Some people be like, "Nah."
Actually, I don't have it.
And some people, it's a mentality thing. Sometimes, some people's
They're like, I don't want to think about that.
yeah, it's like that's fair, but it's also to me, right? So I went through this last year. I lost both of my grandmothers. They both had policies. They both had policies though, so it wasn't a situation where the family was stressing while we were grieving. And I think that's just another aspect of it. Like I want us to graduate from that mentality though, because it's great that y'all took care of this. Like we don't have to stress in this moment. But like our guy Chris, we interviewed him a couple weeks back. He was telling us his grandma got like a big $2 million policy or something like that, to where she was able to give each of her kids like $250,000 whenever she passed. Yeah. So now that's life-changing money. It goes from just being, oh, we covered the funeral costs to, oh, now we can invest. Oh, we can pay off debt. We can get rid of this mortgage. So it's just looking at it from that standpoint. I definitely think, that's why we just always like to talk about insurance. It's an important thing in our community, especially. And I think black folks actually are some of the highest insureds in terms of like actually getting policies. I just wonder what the number looks like on people keeping them to term.
Have to do some research on that. Well, sorry to get kind of morbid on y'all a little bit. Randy, we want to say thank you so much, my brother. Thank you for coming out here. Thank you for sitting down and sharing your knowledge, your excellence with us. Please let the people know where they can follow you. I know you like to operate in the shadows, so if you just got a business page or whatever, let them know where they can follow you.
Randy Hazelton, man, first name, last name.
That's pretty much it across all the social channels. It's Randy Hazelton, so IG at Randy Hazelton, Facebook Randy Hazelton, LinkedIn Randy Hazelton. Our website is H&H Hospitality.com. Matter of fact, we just launched a new site, so y'all check that out. And yeah, man.
Okay. And what about the course that you're doing with the Franchising Queen?
Yeah, so that is called the Franchise Academy, and it's her product.
Okay.
But I want to support because we need it, and it's really dope. And they got wraparound services to where finish the course, they will then introduce you to brands that might work for you, right? Like, and they got a portfolio of hundreds of brands. And if you qualify, they will connect you with financing to actually open the franchise. Like, so we try to really change lives. Like she really is, and I don't stamp a lot of stuff. But so anyway, that's gonna be called the Franchise Academy. Look out for that within 30 days. So we're talking March 24.
I love it. Y'all, please make sure y'all give him a follow. Y'all tap in. Y'all might be purchasing from his restaurant the next time y'all in Atlanta, the DFW or DC.
Please purchase from our restaurant.
Y'all please purchase from him.
Pull up on the H&H boys, man. I'm telling you. But
we get into these house cleaning.
Yes, sir. As always, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. If you made it to the end, I love you.
Yeah, we appreciate
you. You are amazing. I'm gonna stop calling y'all mean names for not leaving likes and subscribes. But we definitely appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all leave a rating, review. It gets more people to listen to the show. If you got value from this, definitely just express that to us. As mentioned last time, if you guys are in the market for a policy, you need some help trying to figure out if you need help just figuring out life insurance, period. Reach out to us at Black Wealth Renaissance. We have a link in the show notes. Reach out to us. We'll be able to get you guys help.
Send us an email. You can hit us up on Instagram, DM. Any way y'all want to reach out to us, we'll help y'all out.
We'll have somebody help y'all with that. Now, really, that's all I got, guys. You got anything else, Jay?
Last thing, get y'all pre-sale tickets, Black Men Summit. We coming back to Atlanta this year. We are celebrating brotherhood. It's all about brotherhood, all about building connections, all about sustaining black men and black brothers. Y'all make sure y'all get those tickets. If you're thinking about getting them for your husband, your son, whatever, get those tickets. Send him to the Black Men Summit. This is our 3rd year doing this, coming back bigger and stronger.
Man, I love the good man. Now you got me wanting to talk about the summit, man.
Yeah, man.
I love the good Black Men Summit, man. I ain't gonna lie. If y'all missed last year, y'all really missed.
Y'all did. Y'all
great
played
experience.
yourself, man.
Speaking of sites, y'all go check out the site for that. It should be blackmensummit.com. You have more information there. You can sign up on the email list. We're gonna be in Atlanta. Jalen said
September 2024.
2024 in Atlanta at the end of the month. Y'all make sure y'all tap in with us, tap in with the good brothers, and yeah, that's all, man. So until next time,
UWR, you stop having doubts. And what's the point of having clout? You can't cash it out.